What's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 18 of the Keep It Down podcast. As always, I'm your host, Garrett, joined by my two co-hosts, TC. How you doing today?
What is up, everybody? Man, I'm doing good. I'm excited to be back. Episode 18. That's nuts, man. Ready to get into it.
And Schmag, baby, with the fresh cut.
Sheesh.
You faded
Yeah,
up, son.
here I am. Yeah, just freshly faded up today. It's great to be back. Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, and so just a few housekeeping things. As always, follow the Instagram at Keep It Down Pod, the YouTube at Keep It Down exclamation point. Subscribe, like. Schmag's been killing it with all the uploads and all that stuff, and just open our Zencaster today, and we passed 400 total views, boys. So keep running it up out there. Keep liking, following, subscribing, all that stuff. Give us a rating, all that good stuff. And then, boys, the Chiefs are the Super Bowl champions, boys. What do we
World
think?
champs. Yeah,
I
man.
mean, we couldn't really ask for a better game per se. It was close, high scoring,
Mhm.
all that good stuff. So let's get your thoughts, boys.
Yeah, obviously an awesome game. And honestly had a lot of physicality, too. The boys were hitting out there, man. Gardner Johnson with a couple of big hits on Pacheco and just a lot of physicality out of both teams, man. Again, the offensive play calling creativity from Andy Reid was on point. He had a couple of those like little short motions on the goal line that freed people up for walk-in touchdowns. He had, I think, one to Tooney and then one to Sky Moore. Um, Really crazy what they've been able to do. Kind of a makeshift wide receiver room for KC, man. Great game. Obviously, kind of hampered by that holding call at the end. Kind of ruined the reputation of the game per se. But other than that, man, awesome Super Bowl, super entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think until that holding call at the end, I mean, it was just a great game. The Chiefs started out pretty rough. I mean, you had Patrick Mahomes get re-injure that ankle he's been dealing with for over a month now, and I just remember saying at halftime, I was like, this is either going to be a blowout by the Eagles or this is going to be the storybook ending to the Chiefs season and to Patrick Mahomes' kind of injury, situation that he's had going on. And I mean, they came out in the second half and all, three phases, including special teams, um, I mean, put them in the Chiefs in a great spot to eventually get the lead there. But it was just an incredible game and the physicality was great. And it was one of my favorite Super Bowls in recent memory for absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of people complain about the field and all that stuff, but yeah, I was listening to the Kelsey Brothers podcast this morning on my way to work, and they were saying it wasn't that bad. So I don't know if it was more like a skill position kind of thing or what, people were on their toes and stuff like that. But so that was a whole interesting little aspect, kept cutting to those like pictures of all the cleats on the sidelines just piled up from swapping back and forth and not knowing what to wear and all that stuff. But yeah, the game itself, man, it was a really good game. Like just an absolute grueler. And like Schmeier was saying, I was like, man, the Eagles could really run away with this thing. And then also, side note, Greg Olson on the call, man. Great work out of
Yeah,
him.
great job.
He's like, it's right before halftime, and he's like, the Eagles are building a lead, but the halftime with the halftime show and all that stuff, it's way longer than normal, so it's not like a normal game where you can just come right back out and get right back started, and it kind of gave the Chiefs right back into this thing, like, uh, got them a chance to go in there and regroup and get the coaches to sit down and make some adjustments, and then come out firing on all cylinders. But yeah, overall, just a really good game, man.
Yeah, definitely in that halftime too. If you remember, Patrick Mahomes was banged up like right before halftime. Someone landed right on that ankle that had been injured. I don't know if maybe he benefited from that long halftime, able to get a little bit more treatment than normal. And then in the second half had that crucial run, like 20 plus yards.
Yeah,
You know, so definitely benefited from the long halftime, I would say. But I wanted to get you guys' thoughts. Did you guys like the halftime performance? I've been seeing kind of mixed reviews on that. What did you guys think of that?
I did not watch the halftime show. Right off the bat. I heard nothing but good things. Your boy had a bunch of dishes to do at halftime. But I heard a bunch of good things. I mean, Rihanna's been doing it for a long time. I mean, great to see her back, and her and ASAP Rocky are going to be welcoming their second child. So, I mean, congrats to them. If you guys are listening out there, crickets. No, okay. Well, congrats to you guys anyway. But I mean, it's good to see her doing well for sure.
Yeah, I mean, coming off the last year's Super Bowl halftime, it's just hard to follow that up, man. You with the Snoop Dogg,
Yeah.
Dr. Dre, and the 50 Cent, and but yeah, I mean, just me personally, I'm not a huge like halftime show guy per
Yeah.
se. Like, it's not really my cup of tea. So like, are there ones that stick out like the classic Katy Perry Left Shark? Absolutely.
Left
But
Shark, dude.
like, and then some that just like, are just like the others. So, but I mean, the little platform situation we had going on, that was lit. You like that?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, nothing spectacular, but also not the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah, like I don't think the performance was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like all the dudes and gals dressed in white running around and doing their thing was kind of like whatever for me. The
Yeah.
platform was awesome, but like the part that I enjoyed is just like all of Rihanna's songs. Like she got so many good songs, man, and she like just busted them out like one after another. You're like, damn, she does. She actually does have like quite the catalog on her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some of them, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot she had that one. Oh yeah, there's that one too. Um, so definitely that was. I thought it was pretty good, and like Chach said, it's hard to follow up last year's halftime performance, but definitely really good. But back to the football side of it, boys. Just want to make a quick detour there, see what your thoughts on the halftime show were. But back to the football side, what are you guys thinking about like the quarterback sneak this year in football? Like it's really changed the game because in the past you couldn't do the bush push, right, where you have other players pushing the quarterback forward. And we saw how unstoppable the Eagles were with it this year, and just like it seems like in general, teams had a lot more success with it this year. What do you think on those fourth and inches, third and inches type plays? Like, is it good for the game, bad for the game, or you don't really care either way?
I mean, I think the game has been so kind of stagnant in those fourth down kind of situations, those fourth and shorts. I feel like it's good for the game, just because I mean it's another down you have to worry about, and it really opens up the playbook. And Greg Olson, which Chachi touched on, he did such a great job, and it's so good having a player with so much insight. Someone who used to play in the league who was very very dominant at his position, has a lot of insight. And so, hearing him make these calls and talk about, the psychology behind those calls was really, really great. It was really refreshing too. But I think it really opens up the playbook, and it gives teams so many more options, first through third down. Um, I mean, I think it's great, especially, and shout out to the Eagles offensive line, man. I was just the whole entire game. I was just like so keyed in on them, and Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, that whole crew are just absolutely phenomenal. And if anyone listening, if you're, trying to play offensive line or you do play offensive line, those are the guys to watch. Like incredible performance by them. So especially in the Eagles case, when you have those guys blocking for you on a 4th and 1, 4th and 2, like you're gonna pick up the first down. And it was awesome to watch. It was a clinic in O line play, that's for sure.
Yeah, dude, it's gnarly to watch. Like they
Yeah.
like get so low to the ground, and then like
Mhm.
right off the rip, like they do this little bear crawl thing, kind of sort of
Yeah.
thing, and it just looks gnarly on camera, and then they're in like the little like kneel position where you got the two little up backs right behind the quarterback, so those dudes are obviously going to push, and we're talking about a yard. Like it's really not that difficult, especially with an athlete like Jalen Hurts. It's not someone who
Right.
can't bend their legs or something like that. So yeah, I mean, Jason Kelsey always talks about it, the 92% or whatever it is, dude. Just
Hmm.
crazy, man. Yeah, and just overall, man, the trenches on both sides of the ball. The Eagles defensive line against the Chiefs offensive line, and the Eagles offensive line against the Chiefs
It was a
defensive line.
great game.
Dude, just crazy. Like, just people are flying everywhere, and people are getting laid out, and like it was nuts, man. Really good game overall.
Hmm.
Definitely, yeah. That quarterback sneak, I kind of have mixed feelings about. Um, you know, the game today is so tailored to the offensive player. It just seems like one more example of that. Letting them do the bush push and having even more people pushing that pile forward. It
Hmm.
almost seems kind of unfair advantage ish
Yeah.
right now. But then again, I wouldn't put it past the NFL defensive coordinators to figure out an answer for it in the coming years. We see it time and time again where something new comes out, whether it's the Wildcat or the RPO or the read option or whatever it is. And then, a couple years later, it's almost out of the offensive playbook just because it's been schemed up against. But I don't know about this one, boys. This one might not be able to scheme against it because, number one, the offensive side of the ball has the jump, right? They know the snap count. And
Right.
so as a defense, you're trying to react and you're already on your back foot, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And you have all of 11 players pushing against, a couple people on the defensive line. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens with it, but the Eagles have
Yeah.
been unstoppable with
Yeah.
that all year. So shout out to them, man.
Yeah, I think it really makes like first through third down really, really valuable now, especially defenses. I mean, like, because you don't only have to get them off the field and keep them or get them to a fourth down. Now you have to keep them to like a 4th and 3 or a 4th and 4 to kind of prevent that sneak from happening. So it's really interesting. But defensive coordinators in the NFL, TC, like you said, I mean, they've proved time and time again that they can adapt and they can, change the way that they call plays or, their personnel on the field. I think it's been really interesting for sure. Um, so I guess the last thing I want to get your guys' opinion on is we won't spend too much time on it because I mean it's a call in a game. But how do we feel about the pass interference call? Or I'm sorry, the defensive holding call right there at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. I don't like the fact that it was called, but there definitely was holding on the play, if that makes sense. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because the reason I don't like that it's called is it almost decided the game. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? The Eagles are in a position to possibly get the ball back with some time left on the clock, and then all of a sudden the game's over because they get a new set of downs. They can run out the
and they can
clock and
run it
kick the
down. Yeah.
field goal. You know what I mean? So it
Mm-hmm.
really took away the chance for the rebuttal. It was like a very anticlimactic ending to the game.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there was holding on the play.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts?
I mean, I wish we could just know if they're calling it on the like the right off the rip off the route or like when he breaks to go to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're calling at the very beginning of the route, then like I could see it. But if they're calling on the second one, like when he's coming out of his break, then I think it's a little weaker for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's talking about it. This shouldn't be called here. This, that, and the other. I mean, it's a judgment call. It's what it is. Does it suck? Absolutely, because it's happened to your boy before. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's that's part of it, man. But yeah, like TC was saying, it. I mean, it was a hold by the rule itself. Do I like it being called there? Not necessarily, but
Yeah.
I mean, when you get into those kind of things, where like everyone say let the boys play, but it's like with something like a holding, like it's a one sided penalty. It's not like it's pass interference where dudes are hand fighting all the way down the field or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, it's just I hate reminiscing on holding penalties, but I mean, it's just what you got to do nowadays, man.
Yeah. Like I think for me personally, like watching it, I mean that flag came in really late, right? Like the ball hit the ground in the back of the end zone, and then everyone stops because there's a flag. And I think what they're saying was is that the flag was on the initial contact, which like I understand, but I mean like he's within that like 3 yards or whatever it is. It's like he's allowed to make contact, but I think that Juju comes out of his cut and he runs that that whip route like towards the end zone, and then there's minimal contact after the first initial contact. He just kind of has his hand on him. So I think, and the ball was still overthrown. So I mean, obviously, I don't think that Juju's used to that first initial contact, so it wasn't there. So I mean, to me personally, I think if Juju like runs like a little out route off of the holding, and like you can clearly see that like he's holding him and he can't get turned around, like I can see the flag. It's more justified then. But I just don't like it that it came in so late. And like, if you're going to throw it on the initial contact, like there was still like 15 yards of route that were ran after that were uncontested and an overthrown ball, in my opinion. I mean, really, was just kind of, reminiscing on calls, but I mean, it did put the Eagles in a, there was like TC said, no real chance for rebuttal after that. I mean, you got what 10 seconds? Like you can't really make much
Mhm.
happen with that. So yeah, very very interesting. I don't love it personally, but I mean, it
Yeah,
is what it is, I guess.
I mean, I think if like the only thing that I noticed watching it back is like right when Juju like turns his hips and like flips out of his route, like Bradbury's hand just like creeps around the like front of his hip just like ever so
Yeah,
slightly, which is I'm sure what you're taught, but and I'm sure a black glove on a white jersey is very easy for an official to spot. So I mean that's the only really nitpicking you could even do, but
yeah,
that's probably what sealed it. And I mean as much as it
yeah.
probably sucks to every single Eagles player, I mean, is what it is.
Right. And I mean, he's playing aggressive. He's playing press off the ball because he doesn't, his safety's rolled over and he doesn't have that help over the top in case Juju
Exactly.
runs that route. So, I mean, he's got to slow him up somehow. I mean, it's what they teach you. I mean, yeah, he held, but I mean, that's kind of what you have to do in that situation. But
Yeah, that call though is just an epitome of where we're at with today's league. I mentioned
it's
it
true.
with the QB sneak situation. Like the
Yeah,
game is so tailored to the offense that
absolutely.
really, as a defender, you're playing with one hand behind your back because
Yeah,
any physicality at all, especially if the ball is in the air, is going to be a flag every time.
yeah,
So there's really not a whole lot of letting the boys play anymore going on. Really, like Ty always goes to the offense. You know what I mean? And it has been that way for years now. So I don't think it should be a shocker that this flag was thrown because that's what they're taught, right? Like 13 to 10 games don't sell seats, right? Everyone wants to see touchdowns and they want to see people doing the gritty in the end zone and Jay Jettis and Jamar Chase and doing all that stuff, right? Um, so that's just the epitome. Like that's what happens when the game is set up this way. Is like even minimal contact like that. I'm sure the refs are taught like when in doubt, pull that flag out. Like
yeah,
So
yeah. Because I mean, in all honesty, I mean, like it's kind of hard to say, but if like what if Juju goes in the end zone and catches the ball? Like, do we still get a flag? Like it's kind of crazy to think about the flip side of that. Like flag came in after it was an incomplete pass, not as the ball was in the air or anything like that. So
yeah, and we see the
yeah,
same thing in basketball all the time, right? Someone
Mhm.
going up for a layup, and like there's some contact and the layup doesn't go in, it's a foul. But if it goes in, like they're cool with it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And like they'll wait to call that foul until they see what happens. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's the same situation here, but yeah, just kind of a telltale sign of where we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, while we're talking about performances, boys, what about Chris Stapleton actually killing the national anthem, man?
great job. It was so awesome.
Dude, so like I watched this Twitter video come up when it was like at a commercial break or something, and someone bet like the over for the national anthem.
I
It was
saw
like a
this.
2.17 or something was the line, and it hit like 1.99 or something like that, dude.
Jeez, man.
So funny, man. There's just
Definitely. Yeah, the Super Bowl is kind of unique, guys. You get the game itself, you get the halftime performance, all of the festivities going on before the game, and then you got the commercials. Are you guys people that watch the commercials, or are you on the phone during commercials, or what?
um
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could take them like every now and again. You see like a really good one. I think Ben Stiller coming back for like the Pepsi Zoolander commercials. That was absolutely hilarious. Big Zoolander guy. So I think there was a few good ones. I don't pay that close attention to them normally, but I mean, you have some good ones every now and again
yeah, I mean, I know we talked about it I think last week, but I mean the Prime commercial, man, like
to start the broadcast. Yeah,
yeah, right after the national anthem before the kickoff, man. Just you see the Prime logo and all that stuff, and I think ads were like 7 million for a spot this year or something like that. I think that that's like the first ever influencer brand to ever be featured in the Super Bowl, which is crazy. And then yeah, there's like a couple bangers. There's like the wife and I are watching Yellowstone right now, so
Hmm.
the one where Kevin Costner was narrating, that one stuck out to the boys. Yeah, there's always like a couple good ones, and then there's just some weird ones that just people try way too hard. Like you paid way too much money to try that hard for,
yeah,
and so just stuff like that.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. We're still doing the Breaking Bad commercials. I don't know. I mean, Haven't gotten to. Well, I mean, I guess they had the spinoff show going on right now. But what do you think about Super Bowl commercials, TC? How do you feel about them?
Yeah, like sometimes I find myself slipping like onto my phone during the commercials, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should be watching these. I don't know, they're not really my thing. I did see a couple of good ones. I like the one for Duncan with Ben Affleck.
Oh, that
Um,
was that
that
was a good one.
that one I got a chuckle out of. I thought M&M's took a pretty big swing and a miss with like their whole rebranding thing for
Yeah.
the Super Bowl. I always like those like NFL commercials that like feature some of the guys. My boy Cam Hayward and
Mm-hmm.
Aiden Hutchinson were in one of those, and that one was
Yeah.
pretty good. All of those, like a couple of years ago, they had like the NFL 100 thing going on, and it had a
Those are
bunch of
great ones
Oh
classic
too.
yeah,
players like running running a mess in like the mess hall or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are always like really fun. But yeah, like I'm not a huge commercial guy. Like I said, I'll find myself on my phone texting you guys or checking Twitter to see what's going on there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, some of them are a little bit more attention grabbing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
absolutely crazy. And then we talked about the Kelsey brothers a little bit, but I mean, it is just absolutely going viral on Twitter. Them
Mm-hmm.
embracing after the game, and then they're on their podcast this morning talking, and they're getting all emotional talking about like their mom going through all this stuff and getting to like live this Super Bowl week with their two sons, which for being a guy with two brothers, I mean, it's crazy to think about that. They were able to
Mm-hmm.
do something like that and experience it together. So, yeah, no, just overall a really good year of football, man.
Yeah.
A lot of
Honestly.
surprises, a lot of ups and downs, all that good stuff. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time. The Super Bowl is so bittersweet. It's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest football event of the year. But the second it's over, you know that you have no more college or NFL ball until what, August, early September, somewhere in that neck of the woods. So
Yeah.
it's just a very deep, dark time for the Curry boys. Are you guys gonna check out the XFL or USFL stuff at all? Any interest there?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, I know that they had some commercials there during the Super Bowl. I mean, I think it's worth checking out. I think there's a lot of big name players that didn't necessarily pan out in the NFL or are trying to get their way back, into the league, that are playing. I mean, TC, we were talking about Martavis Bryant playing in the league. Vic Beasley from Clemson's national championship team, he's going to be playing there. A lot of big name like major conference players. So I mean, I think it could be fun to watch for sure. I might check out a few games and see how it goes.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
more
think the
footballs.
XFL. I think the XFL actually starts up this weekend, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, more football is always better, you'd say, but
Hmm.
we'll
Yeah.
see. I mean, the last was it the XFL last time? Anyways, a little whatever they dropped last time was a little iffy. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like they kind of rebranded, switching the name around and stuff like that. So we'll see if they do it right. It's really easy to mess these kind of things up and make it very uninteresting to watch, but
Mm-hmm.
they do a good job. I mean, football's football at the end of the day. So
True.
Yeah, I think this is the XFL's third crack at it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like XFL 3.0 or something. Really, like I think one of the more interesting things. Obviously, you have players that you know or were stars in college and stuff like that that might pop up on there, but also like the differences in rules that they can roll out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I know in the past XFL has done like instead of a coin toss, they put the ball at the 50-yard line and two players just run out there and try to grab it, and whoever gets it gets the ball
Yeah.
first. Like they have a lot more freedom to try weird things or like things that they think will be fun or like more pleasurable for the fans to watch. So
Mm-hmm.
that I think is kind of fun to see how what they do with that side of things as well. So I might check it out just for that purpose, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Same boat. Same boat.
yeah, boys. Speaking of making it more fun for the fans, we I think we kind of glossed over it a little bit, but what do we think of the new Pro Bowl formatting? Do we like it? Do we not like it? Do we want to go back to normal football? Do we like the flag football? Make it more of like a spectacle rather than like a game kind of thing?
I mean, first of all, just to start off my response, two thumbs way high for that segue. Absolutely perfect, seamless, even. So good job, Chach. That's. why you're here. Um, I thought that it was a good change for the league. I think, having the typical Pro Bowl where everyone, has to fully suit up and go out there and kind of go through the motions is getting kind of old, especially with, we talked about it before. I mean, like contract stuff and people, it's about money at the end of the day. You're not trying to go out there and hurt yourself during a Pro Bowl because you're going 100 miles an hour. So I think switching it up to a flag football game was good. Um, I think it was really fun for the fans. I think the NFL was really good about their media output, about hitting social media with all their stuff. And I mean, that stadium was full of people. I mean, people are obviously interested. You know what I mean? I mean, it's great. It's great to see the Diggs brothers playing against each other and picking the ball off. And I think it's a good change, and I think they should at least try this for a couple more seasons to see how it sticks.
Yeah, definitely. Something needed to change, right? We all know that
Mm-hmm.
the Pro Bowl was broken for a lot of years. I don't mind the flag football. I would say maybe just go for a full-on 7-on-7 type look next
Yeah.
time, or maybe try that out at some point. But definitely a little bit more entertaining than a normal Pro Bowl would be. Um, I think the skill challenges still need some work. They
Mm-hmm.
tried out like a best catch, which is trying to be like the equivalent of like the NBA slam dunk competition, and it just didn't work really.
Yeah.
They set up a trampoline, and the guys are supposed to jump off and catch and land on like these big foam blocks, and like they weren't getting any height off the trampoline, and some people are trying like smoke like to jump out of the smoke and catch the ball, but then they realize they can't see the ball when they're in the smoke, and like it just it wasn't there yet. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think they were trying to make it the slam dunk competition, but it just wasn't. You know what I mean? A big swing
Mm-hmm.
and a miss there. None of the other skill challenges really stood out too heavy for me. I always enjoy the dodgeball portion of it, just because it's
Yes.
something different and the guys have a lot of fun doing it. Um, as far as the flag football game, man, yeah, like kind of take it or leave it, but I would maybe notch it a little bit above like a typical Pro Bowl game that we've seen in the past, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I think for sure a step in the right direction, right?
yeah, I think they just kind of need to pick one, like, is it going to be a football game? Like, are we talking Sean Taylor absolutely murdering the punter? Or is it going to be a flag football game and it's like a spectacle and an event that, like, you're going to want to take your kids to, And then, like the weekend after was NHL All Star Weekend, and, like, it's just packed and everyone has their kids with them. And, you know, Ovechkin has his son out there and they're doing all kinds of stuff. And so it's like a thing. It's like a destination versus like the
Yeah.
Pro Bowl felt like a game, and then there was like some other stuff going on as well. Like it didn't feel like it like meshed and was like one cohesive unit. And yeah, I mean, the first thing on the agenda for him needs to be thinking of some new skill challenges, because like we've seen the thing where the dude stands in front of the board and the quarterback tries to throw it through the little holes in the wall, like for like 6 years in a row now. Like they just got to get some new stuff rolling through.
Yeah. Definitely. Skill challenges, I feel like, back in the day, they were way closer than they are now. They're trying to jazz it up too hard, trying a little bit, like just a little bit more creativity instead of using more like moving parts and like big smoke shows and fireworks going off. Like we need less of that and like just see who can chuck the ball the farthest, or just line up one on one and let them run routes. Or like I don't know, I'm not the guy to ask, but like figure something out that's really gonna stick.
Or like set up a freaking jugs machine and just start launching balls at people and see who can like catch it when it goes the fastest. Just like simple stuff like that. It would like be interesting to watch.
Mhm.
Yeah, I could not agree 100%. I was literally thinking like those same exact things, like set up a jug machine and see like how like many footballs you can catch and hang on to, like without dropping any, or like TC, like you said, like a one-on-one. Like imagine that, like you know, ha-
Oh,
having like Justin Jefferson like line up against Diggs, or like a matchup like that everyone wants to see, that the internet wants to see, and have them run routes on each other, and I think it'll be good. Or like a 225 bench competition, or like a weightlifting thing. I mean, like they're some of the world's best athletes. Like let them show it. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Oh, what
Well,
one other thing we should talk about in the general sports world, boys. Our boy Braun
yeah.
passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for most points in NBA history. I mean, should we just does this make Braun pass Jordan? I think I wouldn't know your boy's answer, but
Um, so before I answer the Braun Jordan question, I want to say this. I actually turned on that game at the exact perfect time, and like literally
Dang.
a minute later,
Let's
he
go,
hit the
baby.
shot to pass Kareem, and dude, it was so weird because they just like stopped the game. They
Yeah.
stopped the game and did like a whole presentation ceremony,
Mhm.
and like Braun took the mic and like gave a speech, and there's all these like random people out on the court, and they're presenting
Yeah.
him with different stuff, and like and then all of a sudden like everyone just clears out, and they're like, all right, there's 5 minutes and 38 seconds on the clock, like go ahead, let's play. You know what I mean? So
It's
that
like the
was so
third
weird. You
quarter
know what I mean?
too. Like
Yeah, like just in the middle of the game.
Mhm.
Um, Schmug, I'll let you go first. Do you think he passed Jordan?
So this is the thing. I mean, short answer, no. But here's my thing, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think Michael Jordan will always be considered the greatest of all time just because he's Michael Jordan. But I consider Michael Jordan and LeBron a lot like the Star Wars movie series, right? Hear me out. So you have the original Star Wars movies, right? Just hold on,
Right.
just hear me out, right? You have the original ones, right? Which are the classic movies, and everyone's always going to love those movies because they were the first, because they were, the classics, you know what I mean? Way ahead of their time, right? But then you have all the newer movies, which are very, very good in their own right. They're newer, they're more expensive, they're better in certain ways, but no matter how good the new ones are, people are always going to think the first ones are better,
so you
even
think
though like the guns are just
you
pew,
think it's
pew, pew, pew.
you think it's purely off of nostalgia, basically.
I mean, they're different players. They play the game differently. Like LeBron is a monster of a human being. That guy is huge. He's bigger than Michael Jordan was. Like if they played 1v1, like I mean this is getting posted on YouTube. People are gonna be coming at my neck. But like if they play like 1v1 versus each other, like LeBron is very good at playing towards his strengths. And I mean so is Michael Jordan. But I mean like when there's a huge size, huge weight difference, like I mean those things come into effect. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say who I think is going to win, but I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right, Schmug. I think one on one, Braun's combination of size and athleticism would pretty much give anyone issues. You know what I mean? It's going to be tough to score on a guy that big and that athletic, and then trying to slow him down when he's going full steam at you at the basket is going to be pretty rough when you have no help. Especially when Jordan's more of the guard and Braun's just bigger and is more of a forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like people's argument against Jordan is his competition level, and that will always be like the big argument for Braun is that he's played against better players. He's had to play against KD and Steph and this whole new generation that's just freakily athletic. um, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a prime example of that. Like a 7 footer that can dribble and is not linked like just a weirdo in his body. Like knows how to control his body. But the thing about Braun that Jordan doesn't have is the meltdown in the finals, right? I think that's the big knock against Braun is the Dallas Maverick finals when he's just trying to be too much of a team player, not assertive enough, or the moment was too big for him. He's too young still, and he loses to a team that they should have obliterated with that Miami Heat team. Like that will always be the number one knock against Braun. Other than that, obviously Jordan's got more chips. What he did with Team USA and that Dream Team is obviously legendary. Just everything he did with Nike and turning that from the third place in the competition to passing Adidas and Converse, and all of a sudden Nike is Nike. You know what I mean? Like Jordan is just so legendary. It's going to be tough for anyone to pass him. Um, like I said, more finals wins, maybe not as many points, but it is a team game. So I still got to give the nod to Jordan, but Braun is getting close, man.
What do you think, Judge?
Yeah, I
Thoughts?
mean, I agree. I mean, Jordan is the greatest of all time. Um, yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, they're two different players who play two different positions in two different time frames, so that's always gonna be pretty difficult. I mean, like maybe just because it's basketball and the game has changed that much, but I mean, I guess it can even work for football. Like if you tried to compare like uh, Christian McCaffrey to Eric Dickerson, like it's just
Yeah.
not even the same game that they're playing at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and then you always hear about Jordan and the competition as if he didn't have to play the Pistons and the Pacers and the Celtics and the Knicks and just like all these star-studded teams. Like we're talking about Dr. J, Larry Bird, Reggie Miller, like and the list just
Look,
goes on and on and on.
yeah,
Like
he got bounced by Shaq and Penny. Like it wasn't that long
exactly.
ago that he was playing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and like yeah, you get onto Twitter and go down the rabbit hole of looking at replies and all that stuff, and it just gets more off
Yeah.
track from there because like people just like associate their personal like themselves like attached to one player or the other, and so like at that point it's just if you're not with me you're against me kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I mean, I kind of look at it as Jordan is 1A and LeBron's 1B, just because simply like they're not comparable in any form really. There's no like there's no way to put them in a sports science lab and make them play one versus one. Like
Yeah.
so there'll always be that little thing. And then just a quick side note on the when he actually passed Kareem and the picture comes up of him shooting the ball and in the background every single person has their cell phone on besides one lonely white haired man, and that's Uncle
Yeah.
Phil Knight, baby, sitting
Uncle
courtside.
Phil. Love it.
Dude, so legendary. That picture is insane. I saw it and I
It's
just
so
started
great.
laughing, dude. But yeah, crazy stuff, man. Can't believe he actually passed Kareem. Honestly, I didn't think he'd play this long, to be honest.
Yeah. And he just, LeBron did an interview and they were kind of asking him like what is like next for you? Like what's like the one more thing you want to cross off? And he said, "Oh, I want to be on the court. I want to be on the same team as as Bronny." So I mean, which is his his oldest son. Which I mean, how absolutely insane would that be to like? I mean, every father's dream, right? I mean, just for anybody. I mean, to do like your job like with your oldest boy, like that's crazy. So I mean, kind of confirming that he's going to try to stick around and try to make that happen. At least another year or two until Bronny's can enter the draft and all that stuff. So yeah, congrats to LeBron, man. It's awesome. It's crazy to witness it too. Like in our lifetime. We got to see a lot of great athletes, Brady, LeBron, it's cool to see both of those guys.
Yeah, so I want to say one more thing about the whole Jordan LeBron thing before we move away too far from it.
Mm-hmm.
So Jordan wins his first three championships, right? And then in the prime of his career, just dips out to go play baseball,
That's
right? And
right.
just he's out of there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the prime
He
of
did.
his career, like unheard of, like straight up just getting bored out here with the competition because they have a three-peat. Like, what else is there for me to do? Obviously his dad passing away, and his dad always wanted him to play baseball, played a factor in it as well. But in the interviews in that Last Dance documentary, he's like, I felt like there wasn't a whole lot for me to accomplish in basketball anymore. Like I felt like I'd already been to the highest high. So steps away, and then the year that he comes back, they win again. The year after that, they win again. The year after that, they win again. Man had two three-peats. Like
Yeah.
you think about this Golden State Warriors run right now, that has nothing on what the Bulls did in the
Yeah.
90s, man. Like late 80s, early 90s. Like they are just ripping through the NBA, and it's like they're facing off against Karl Malone and that Jazz team, and they're getting by the Pistons and like legendary teams, you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
a lot of these teams aren't remembered the same way because they just couldn't get by Jordan. They were always just the stalwart. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just a crazy run, and so I don't think that can be matched. You know what I mean? That level of dominance.
Yeah,
You
I
forgot
think you're
that,
right, TC.
and you forgot that he defeated a team of interdimensional beings also in the meantime.
Space Jam. Yeah.
Yeah, those boys came from Moron Mountain, baby.
Yeah,
He took
you
them all out
kidding me?
with Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny's his best player, carrying that team.
Yeah,
Yeah. A
absolutely.
quick side note on that on Space Jam, man. On that Last Dance documentary, they show when he's filming Space Jam, he basically requests that Warner Brothers builds him a court like on set. And that whole summer it became like a thing for all the NBA stars to come out and run pick up basketball games with Jordan. And so it was literally like the
So
best of the
awesome.
best out there on the set of Space Jam, running pick up basketball, man. So pretty cool little side note there.
Yeah, he kind of like started that, because like now it's a trend. Like on summer, you'll see like Instagram stories, and it's like, oh, Braun and Giannis and Steph and everyone is at this gym and they're all playing together, doing
Yeah.
whatever. So I mean, yeah, you've always seen all the videos of Jordan, and they're all except it's a lot more physical and aggressive when Jordan and them dudes are playing out there. So yeah, crazy man. Boys, so we reached out to the people on Instagram last week after our last podcast. Towards the end, the boys got into a little bit of a tangent. We got lost in the sauce a bit. So we went to Instagram and asked if the people wanted to see some conspiracy theory talk out of the boys, and unanimously, 100% baby, everyone said yes. So that's what we got for you here. So, I mean, this is kind of just going to be an open forum little thing. We're kind of just going to, break into some stuff, talk about some big picture, little picture kind of stuff. So, wherever you boys want to dive in.
Yeah, boys. I want to dive right into mine first here, boys. Okay. We're talking conspiracy talk. I just want to get all the way lost in the sauce on this episode, boys. I'm going to start you boys out with a banger, okay? And that's going to be the Great Pyramids of Egypt, okay? And I guess my question to you guys at the end of this is like, could humans in 2550 BC have built these pyramids? I'm just going to read off a list of facts about these pyramids. And I just, you know, archaeologists still today like can't explain how these pyramids were built. And I'll tell you why right now. Number 1, 455 feet tall. They're almost perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions. And we know that the Earth does all sorts of weird things. It rotates, it spins, it flips. The Earth's axis shifts. So at the time when it was built, it was probably dead balls on to perfectly align with the cardinal direction, right? There's 2,300,000 stones make up the Great Pyramid of Egypt. Some stones are cut from a quarry hundreds of miles away. In fact, the stones in the King's Chamber are cut from a quarry 500 miles south. Okay, these stones could have weighed up to 80 tons. The precision that these stones had been placed with, right? If you're off by even a millimeter at the bottom, by the time you get all the way to the top, like your pyramid is fucked,
Yeah,
right?
it's checked.
Like it's not a pyramid, right? So you have these massive stones, and they have to be placed with such precision that you're gonna make it all the way to the top and have no errors. Okay, with stones cut from quarries 500 million or 500 miles away, right? And you're not going to nick them, you're not going to damage them. These stones are put together so perfectly that you can't fit a razor blade in between them. Okay, I'm just going to keep going here.
Oh my gosh.
At the end, they were covered in white limestone and polished to be reflective. Okay, again, built in about roundabout 2,550 BC. Um, and then get this. This is where it gets a little bit trippy. Okay, if you take the height of the Great Pyramid, multiply it by 43,200, you get the polar radius of the Earth, right? That's the radius going north and south. Now, if you multiply the perimeter of the Great Pyramid by that same number, you get the circumference of the Earth going east and west.
Holy.
I guess I'm asking you guys. We all know about the hieroglyphics. Inside of these Egyptian pyramids that are a little bit alien like, seem to maybe be depicting something a little bit strange going on. Um, any way that you think that people with primitive methods could have A, moved these stones that far and placed them in the correct order within millimeters of precision, all lined up to the cardinal directions with these crazy measurements going on? What I just want to know, what are you guys thinking?
All right. Well, first thing, so to play devil's avocado a little bit here, uh,
Yeah.
so like saying that the aliens built them, like if so the aliens did actually build them, then why would like the Egyptians like have their tombs and stuff there? Like if the aliens actually built the things, then like why were the Egyptians the ones living there, if that makes sense, or like occupying the space, you know? That's the only thing that like kind of makes it a little fishy. But then when you say, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind about moving the blocks has got to be Transformers. I mean, there's no way around it. Like the solution.
um,
Yeah. So hold on. Before we jump in like the alien side of it, right? I just want to know like how, like any thoughts on how they could have done this if it is just with primitive methods. I'm talking about like leverage and pulleys and like technology as we know it today. Like, can you even fathom how?
I mean, like in my brain, like it's really, really hard to, especially to see when you bring up that some of those, blocks that were cut, I mean, are moved from hundreds of miles away. I mean, it's crazy to wrap your head around that. Um, and like you said, I mean, they're perfect blocks that have been moved that whole entire way. TC, do you have an exact time on how long it took them to build them?
No, I
Allegedly.
don't. I don't know how long allegedly it took to
Sure.
build them,
Yeah.
but they were built over time, right? They were
Right.
used as like tombs for pharaohs to escort them to the afterlife, basically. So I
Right.
think during a pharaoh's reign, he would start the construction. If they
Hmm.
were allegedly, he
Allegedly.
would start the construction for his pyramid to transport him to the afterlife.
Got it.
So within a
Yeah,
lifetime.
got it. Yeah, so I was doing a little research on this before, and I actually found this website, and it was the funniest thing. It's called Debate Art, and so basically, it's like an open forum website where people can go on there and like formally debate. And I found one about the pyramids in Egypt, about like if the Egyptians really did build them or not. And dude, these guys are just going back and forth in like paragraphs about like formal debate. Very, very adult like. It's nice. Um, so one of the guys says that there's like claims that like aliens built the pyramids and all that stuff. One guy debates that the pyramids, the Egyptians actually believe that the pyramids were built by their gods, and that's why they're there, and then that's why they inhabit, and that's why they're buried in them, because they were built by the gods. um,
Mm.
I think, and then one guy talks about how, like, logistically they would use, like, the big, um, they would like roll these big giant blocks on like these big, like, I mean, these big round wooden like wheels almost, and then kind of flip the first one to the back and keep rolling them. And then they would
Yeah,
use like
but an
ramps and
80
stuff.
ton block,
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
80 ton block, even on tree
Yeah.
trunks or whatever you're rolling them on.
Yeah.
This is primitive technology supposedly at the time. How are
Let
you
me go.
generating enough force
Yeah.
for that block to even want to roll on those pieces of wood or whatever they're using? Like
Yeah.
it's mind boggling.
Yeah, like deep shower thoughts right now, man. Like I can't wrap my head around how they could have possibly done it. Like, do I think that aliens built them? I don't think so. But it's
Whoa,
it's
whoa,
hard to
whoa, whoa,
wrap.
whoa. Okay, so I just found something online, boys. Sorry to cut you off there, Spank, but
No, you're good.
um, so there's this book called The Book of Draft Horses: The Gentle Giants That Built the World, and supposedly, allegedly, in 1924, a pair of Shire draft horses pulled 50 tons, which is 20,000 pounds more than the weight of a semi truck. So, I mean, if that's a possibility, then I mean theoretically they could have four horses pull one block.
Okay.
No, we're getting
If
somewhere. Okay.
I mean we're talking allegedly here, but
Yeah. No, I like it. We're
so
trying to
I
get to
mean
the bottom of this.
once you think about horses and camels and pulleys and ropes, I mean then you get, but I mean then again finding a rope that can support such a block, like that's where it gets a little tricky.
Yeah.
You
So
know, you like
my whole thing is I don't know about the whole alien thing. We'll kind of hop into that in a little bit here, but there is something else going on with these pyramids, right? Like they didn't build them with technology as we know it today, right? Like they must have had a whole different kind of technology back in these times that is now lost. We know nothing about because with simple leverage and pulleys and and combustion internal combustion engines, like all that stuff that we know today, like it would be tough to build the pyramids today with our set of technology, right? There has to be something else going on, whether they found a way to use acoustics or frequencies, or there has to be something else at play. These blocks are too massive to even fathom trying to roll them or use pulleys to lift them or anything. Like there has to be something else going on. Archaeologists today still can't fathom how these things were built, right? So even if you have the horses to pull these blocks along, how are you raising them 350 feet in the air and precisely putting them into position? There has to be something else going on.
okay, I just had a shower thought kind of thing. So yeah, I agree. Like the fact that it was built, like pulled from far away, seems a little far fetched. But what if, what if it was created there? Like you start at the top and then built your way down by like cutting the rocks there. You know,
Yeah.
that could be a little more plausible. You know, because then we're just talking about like creating seams. You know, that's why you can't fit like a razor blade through the seams because they're not actually seams. It's like an artistic kind of thing, you know. I don't know. So, you know, it could be one of those kind of things where they dug downward and like made the pyramid and then started at the top. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like the more I think about it, like placing the last block on the top, if they actually did pull the blocks, like think about horses pulling up that grade. Like
Yeah.
you all seen pictures of the pyramids. Like there's just no way, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we know that the blocks were transported, right? Because of the quarries where those rocks come from, right? So, like I said, the granite in the King's Chamber is from 500 miles south. The white limestone that was polished on the outside to be reflective, that comes from another quarry hundreds of miles away. So they're all these rocks are being gathered. So that kind of debunks the whole cutting down scenario, right? We know these blocks were gathered and stacked somehow, right?
Well, I mean, it could have been a mixture of both.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's just like the outside layer, and that's like the stuff that was transported in, and maybe it was transported because it was like it was more like beautiful to look at, or they could paint it in limestone to make it reflective. Like, what if the outside was the only parts that were moved there, and the inside was built and dug down? You know what I mean? But I mean, the craziest part is to think about this. I mean, TC, when you're talking about like the height and the width and like it being like in perfect like circumference and radius of the earth, that's when you start getting into some crazy stuff. Because I mean, back then, I mean, they didn't have they were going off of the sun and like landmarks around them, which in the Egyptian desert, not a whole lot at the time. But the craziest part to think of is Egypt is not the only those aren't the only pyramids that we see in ancient civilizations. You have pyramid like what there's I saw the thing there's like 12 pyramid sites around the world other than Egypt. I mean, you have South America, you have some up north, and I mean, each civilization had to figure that out on their own how they all got it done, but they're all figuring out the same way and the same blocks and the same like moving, transportation of all these materials. I think the more you think about it, the more the more plausible. Maybe it was aliens. Probably was aliens.
Yeah, okay. And then the last thing I was saying, and don't hate me for saying this, but I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and they were talking about this exact thing on this podcast, right? And one of the experts he had on the show about this topic was talking about a ramp that you would need to build, right, to get up to the top of the pyramid, right, or even to get 350 feet up in the air, right? And he says that the basic laws of physics tell you that a block that heavy, you can't get up a slope that's more than 10 degrees steep, right? So if you have a ramp that's only 10 degrees steep,
Like that
We're
thing
talking
is
how
about miles of
long
runway.
miles and miles
how
long.
long that ramp would have to be is mind-boggling in itself, and it can't be built out of sand, because if it's built out of sand, it's going to crumble under the weight of those 80-ton blocks.
So you're
So
building,
if
yeah,
they used ramps, those ramps would more than likely still be there today, because that in itself would have been an engineering feat at the time, right? Just the ramps to transport each block. And that's not even talking about moving the ramp this many times for each block, right? To get to your final destination. Like, to have a movable ramp of that size is mind boggling in itself.
yeah.
It's like there has to be something that we don't know going on here, right? And I don't want to get too hard into the conspiracies, but I'm thinking, like I said, acoustics or frequencies or some sort of anti gravity
Mm. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, wait,
sphere.
wait, 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 wait. What about the water?
Water is a great one. Water, they knew something that we have lost over time. Like,
Because
there's something else going on here.
like, what if like, yeah, there was a river that was once there or something like that, that ran all the way from one spot to another. All these global warming type of things going on. Like, what if there was a river back then and then it dried up now, and that's why you can't see it.
And
Um,
that's how they transported the box closer.
exactly. Yeah, because then we're talking about boats. Wood floats, boats, dragging it through the water by itself. I mean, water makes everything lighter. So that's a really interesting take. I'd never even thought about that.
And the other side of it is all the measurements. We talked about the height equaling the radius of the Earth, and the perimeter times a certain times that same number being the circumference of the Earth, and then the pyramids themselves being aligned to true north and the cardinal directions. Within like 3/60ths of a degree. Like, that's almost like, okay, just in the equations that would have to be solved to figure this out, and the knowledge of astronomy to figure out true north and the Earth's circumference and like, this is mind-boggling for the ancient Egyptians to have known these things. Okay, and then the pyramids alignment, that's almost like navigational type stuff. And it's like, who needed that to be a navigator? Like, that, it's just all so strange. And this is, I think, it's why it's so fun to talk about. Is no one has the right answer to it.
Yeah,
It's
and then
just,
like
it's mind-boggling.
there's like a couple of them or whatever it is. Like there's like what, three or four of them or something like that, all right by each
3.
other.
Well,
Yeah.
there,
Like,
yeah, yeah, and then there's hundreds across the globe, but yeah,
Hmm.
in Egypt, yeah.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, the three specifically right there, the Great Pyramids of Egypt. Like, why, if so, let's say that the Egyptians actually built it. Why would you need three of them? Like, if it's a burial site, you would just need one, like, or is it the theory that like every pharaoh would build their own pyramid to be buried in? Is that the kind of thing behind that?
Yeah, I think that's more so the gist.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that makes more sense then.
Yeah, boys,
Holy
I think
cow, dude.
it's just absolutely mind-boggling. And if you just want to go into a deep rabbit hole on YouTube, it's a great one to get into, because experts will go on there and talk for hours, and like, it's mind-boggling even to today's archaeologists. And like I said, it would be tough for us as a civilization to build these pyramids now with all of the technology we have.
Absolutely insane. Man, this is heavy stuff here, boys. A lot to think about. So it's a busy mind topic. Schmike, you
Okay.
got one or?
Yeah, I mean, just staying on the pyramids real quick. So I read this kind of crazy thing the other day. So everyone knows, I mean, King Tut, King Tutankhamun, obviously, one of the youngest Egyptian pharaohs, died at like 16 years old or something crazy. I saw this thing, and then it was on YouTube. It was like like what people like thought he looked like versus what he actually looked like. And I mean, just kind of getting out of the pyramid thing here, but like every representation you see of King Tut is that he's, this really handsome, young man growing up. But, there's been like deep dives about like conditions that he had. So it was like what people think he looked like versus what he actually looked like. And apparently he was like really, really messed up and deformed. And like he had like weird, like little, like limbs and stuff growing like in like off his hands and feet and like all sorts of weird stuff. And his face was like deformed and all sorts of stuff. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of a crazy thing because he is painted in like this light and then just not that way at all in real life, I guess. Apparently the Egyptians are hiding a lot from us.
Well, that's how most like ancient civilizations are because of like
Mm-hmm.
just the way that they find their partners. Like it's like either attractive people or stuff like that. And so like once you get down this rabbit hole and like everyone has kids with everyone kind of thing, then it's impossible to stop in being inbred. So
Right.
that's how you get that kind of situation. And then it's a prince in a queen's daughter or something. So then he's the prince, but he looks like freaking the troll from the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, we can move into something, I guess, a little bit. I mean, not really lighter. Mine that I'm bringing to the table this week, guys, and I kind of touched
Hmm.
on it about the ocean and space and all that stuff. So I, for a long time, right, and it's not that I'm like overly into this, but my subject is cryptids, right, or cryptozoology. So I'm talking Bigfoot, I'm talking Nessie, I'm talking chupacabra, Mothman, all these different things. Obviously, I think some are very, very far fetched and all that stuff, but I want to know your guys' take on like what you think could actually be out there versus like things that you've heard of and there's no way, no how in your brain is that possible. And I think like the biggest one, and every list kind of points to this, is like Bigfoot or the Yeti or skunk ape down in Florida. What are you guys' thoughts on the old Bigfoot?
Yeah, so out of all of the cryptids, as you called them, Schmug, I would say Bigfoot would be my most plausible. I
Mm,
don't necessarily believe in Bigfoot. In fact, I'd probably say it's not likely.
sure.
However, I do think, like, is it possible scientifically that there is a big ape like thing roaming around out there somewhere? Yes, like that could be plausible, right? Now, is it probable?
Mm,
I don't think so, because how could you just have one Bigfoot? That's more of like a mythical creature type of thing. For there to be this big ape-like creature just roaming around out there somewhere, like he's got to have parents, and they had to
mm,
have parents, and there has to be a herd of them, and
right.
like they got to live somewhere.
They got
You
to
know what I
die.
mean? Exactly. They gotta die. There's gotta be bodies. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So like, do I think there's just one Bigfoot living out in the woods somewhere? No. Like that's not possible. But like, if one day we discovered that, yeah, there was a ape-like creature living, and that's what everyone thought was Bigfoot, I'd be like, okay, yeah, there it is. Like, I
yeah,
think that's plausible.
sure.
Yeah, I
What
think
about
the
you?
argument to that is like the tinfoil hatters, they'll say that supposedly they're interdimensional beings, is why there's none. That's why you only see one of them at a time or stuff like that, because they can travel through dimensions. And that's why they're so hard to photograph because they can, like, that's the big thing. that, like, all the tinfoil hat people say. So, but yeah, Steven Ranella actually did a Bigfoot podcast with like a Bigfoot expert, and they talked about a lot about all this kind of stuff, and like just some of the evidence is a little weird. Like it's just like a wedge of a nest supposedly that belongs to a Bigfoot, but like
Yeah.
like as if there's nothing else big and furry that lives in the woods kind of
Right.
thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just so far fetched, man, that like that they're this, such an exquisite creature, and they're interdimensional also on top of it. Like, you can't have all the best of both worlds in one, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, that there's no population, or there's never dead ones, and then what are they eating? How do they go to the bathroom? How do they reproduce? All that kind of stuff. And so like, biologically, it's just a little far fetched for me.
Right. And I think that like Bigfoot stuff for people, because I mean like the first like photographed sightings of Bigfoot were, or video, was the Patterson film that you've all seen, where Bigfoot is walking across that dry lake bed, and he's like swinging his arms, and he like looks at the camera at the last second, which for like years and years, experts swore like that's it, like you got it, swore up and down. And then like the Patterson guy comes out and says, "Oh yeah, it's just a suit, like it was all fake," and like shows him like the
Just
original films, like, and like even the pre-films when he's like getting ready to like walk out in front of the camera kind of thing. So like to me, Bigfoot is like, I feel like it's like the least possible out of a lot of different things. Just because I mean, you know, if they are interdimensional beings, they probably built the pyramids, so we'll just tie those into each other right there. But if they're not, I mean, like there's got to be big little Bigfoots running around somewhere. They got to grow up. They got to die. They got to like move on. Like there's kind of a lot for that to happen, kind of thing, and especially on land that we've discovered so much of. You know what I mean? I mean, there's people out in the woods everywhere, all over the world. You know what I mean? And like, the fact that there's just this one creature evading us all is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, a couple years ago, that little mini series came out. I think it was on Hulu, and it was called Murder Mountain. Did you guys watch that one? And it was all about like Humboldt. I think it's Murder Mountain. I might have to look that up, but it was all about like Humboldt County, and it's back in the day, right? And so weed is like super illegal, and these people keep claiming to have like run-ins with Bigfoot in Humboldt County, right? But like all of these run-ins were like on these super illegal weed farms, and like they're run by sketchy dudes. These sketchy dudes found a way to make a lot of money, and like people are starting to disappear, and like they keep saying, "Oh, it's because there's Bigfoot out there. There's Bigfoot out there." And like in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, sketchy dudes found a way to make a bunch of money, and they're all backstabbing and killing each other. Like that adds up a lot more than like
Yeah.
sketchy dudes making a lot of money plus there's Bigfoot thrown in here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like after that series came out, everyone was like, oh, I don't know, man, there might be Bigfoot out there. I'm like, how do
Yeah.
you mean? Like this is more evidence that like only weirdos are the ones saying that there's a Bigfoot out there, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, go ahead, Josh.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, the next person to photograph Bigfoot, just maybe the person can have an iPhone or something. Like why are we shooting this on like 8 track? Like what are we doing? Like someone with an iPhone needs to take a quality picture of the Bigfoot they see. Okay, so let's handle
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, to me personally, like, you know, I don't think like Chupacabra is real. They've kind of proved that
Okay,
was
wait. Pause.
either
Pause.
like,
Pause. 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 I actually have a really good story about the chupacabra.
Mm-hmm. You had a run in.
No, not me personally.
Oh.
So, Forrest Galante was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about the chupacabra. And so there's this story. Do you guys know what Tasmanian tigers are? Yeah, they're like this weird little tiger hybrid looking thing. And so there's this alleged story that basically like the last, I think it's like 10 or 12 Tasmanian tigers were coming from Tasmania to Southern California on like a ship or something like that. and allegedly the ship crashed when it was coming to port, and like all the animals on the ship were gone, including the Tasmanian tigers, the remaining Tasmanian tigers. And so it's alleged that, in the northern Mexico, southern United States region, that these Tasmanian tigers have bred with coyotes and stuff like that are just out in the wild, and then made these little cross, breed things that are like turning into what is the fabled chupacabra. So, I mean, of course, this is all allegedly, but so thought that was interesting take on it.
Yeah, so I would kind of say that like Bigfoot, the chupacabra, and the Loch Ness monster, you can kind of put all of those in the same category as like plausible. Like, so the Loch Ness monster is a little bit more far fetched because that's a lake, right, in Scotland or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's a little bit more far fetched. If it was in the ocean, I would probably say that was my most plausible one because of how little we've explored of the ocean, right?
Yeah.
But since it's in a lake, it's kind of like
This gets into my
there's
next
just
one. Yeah.
there's one big old boy living in that lake. You know what I mean? Um, but like Chacha was saying, like some of them you can almost come up with like a logical answer to why the legend might have started, right?
Yeah.
Like something weird and big being in the water. Okay, like I can believe that. Like there being a big ape-like creature roaming around the forest at one time. Like okay, I can believe that. But once you get into like the mythical side of it, I don't really believe that as much. Like I think there can be
Sure.
anomalies in nature that were seen,
Hmm.
especially a long time ago before everything before humans took over so much and we've explored so much of land and the ocean. But the mythical side, I'm just not buying as much.
Yeah. Like I think, Church, I think it was part of that same podcast, maybe on the Joe Rogan episode there. Some guy was talking about like giant snakes that they found in Africa that could somehow still be living there in like unexplored places of Africa and in the Amazon. So I think things like that, where you have like anomalies that have just kind of survived because they're kind of at that apex point. But my biggest thing on things that could like actually be possible that like I think are entirely possible are things like megalodon or like giant creatures like that that live in the ocean. Like, we kind of talked about this last time. Like, um, the ocean is just so, 5% of it's discovered, actually physically discovered, and only 10% is discovered by sonar. Like there's just so much out there that like we haven't seen. And there's definitely animals that are living in the ocean that we haven't seen that we're, I mean, hopefully in our lifetime we start seeing some cool stuff. But I mean things like, giant sharks or giant, mammal types or, different kinds of squid or whatever. So I feel like that kind of stuff, if you want to loop that in with, you know, kind of cryptozoology of animals that we thought were gone but are actually here and we just haven't seen them in a long time kind of thing. Um, like stuff like that, I think is very, very possible and is possible. I think there is stuff out there like that, personally.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
like and it
agree.
seems
Like,
like. Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, um, like the more mythical kind of stuff where it's just like, oh, there's this one thing out there and it's just doing it and just vibing by itself. Like, gets a little strayed, but like, things where you kind of explain it, like whether it's through science or, geographical location or stuff like that, it makes a little more sense. But the more you can just stray away from like the fairy tale, like there's one thing and it does this one thing by itself all the time and no one's ever seen it kind of thing.
Mothman.
So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is like you'll see like pictures from like the 1950s or something, right? And it's like the fisherman who like caught this massive shark or this massive tuna, and then like that itself is like mind-boggling. Like they had this massive shark just hanging there, and you're like, dude, I've never seen a shark that big in my whole life. You know what I mean? Like over time, it seems like the animals are getting like a little bit smaller, and a little bit smaller, and a little bit smaller. But it's like it's plausible to think that like maybe not that long ago there was some big boys out there and like that was what they thought was the Loch Ness monster. You know what I mean? And since they've gone extinct or something like that, like something more in the scientific realm, I could believe more so. Um, but get this, guys. I just looked it up. The woolly mammoth went
Mm,
extinct 10,000 years ago. Okay? Like, you think about the woolly mammoth, you think about like saber-toothed tiger, like dinosaur type age. They
mhm.
were around until 10,000 years ago. Like, humans and woolly mammoths survived at the same time. Like, so to think that there's weird creatures out there, I don't think is that far fetched. And that's
Yeah.
where these legends started. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like you can kind of like pick through the list of the the cryptozoology world, and like there's ones like the thunderbird for like Native American tribes. Like that is not that hard to believe. There's a big ass bird that when it flaps its wings, it sounds like damn lightning's coming down on you or whatever.
Yeah.
Like those ones are a little easier to believe. But yeah, like the the New Jersey Devil, like an actual like thing with wings and horns, and like it's just
Yeah.
like all a little crazy, man.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's my rant on cryptozoology. I don't know if you guys have any closing thoughts there. If somebody's got another one you wanna bring up,
Um,
what you got, Chach? I know you got something good.
no, I don't. I really just had the one on chupacabras, and that was um, for cryptozoology.
All right, well
But
let's shoot into another topic here.
all right, I got a little rapid fire for you, boys. It's
Got it.
six quick little topics, and I just want a yes or no if it's real or fake.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
First, ghosts/demons.
This is a good one.
Tough. It's a tough one. Demons, I'm saying off top, no. Actually, I'm saying no to both, I guess. I have to say no to both.
Wow. Okay, Schmack.
Um, I'm gonna say ghosts in their traditional Halloween ghost. No. Um, demons. 1,000% yes.
Yeah, like I mean, like you know, like bad stuff that happened to people, like thinking that their soul is trapped there forever, like doesn't seem that far fetched to me personally, you know. So, but yeah, okay. So, all right, next, vampires.
Ooh.
uh, that's again, I say no.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no on vampires.
Yeah, I agree. Um, we already talked about the Loch Ness monster. All right, this one. All right, now we can do a little more Illuminati type stuff. The government bunker behind Mount Rushmore.
Ooh.
So give me a little
So
background on this. I haven't heard of this one, Chanshu.
so
So I don't
touch.
have a ton.
This is
Go
the
ahead,
the
Mike.
bunker that was built like TC, dude. You were super close to this, man. Glad to still have you with us, man. So there's this apparently this big bunker that's built like behind like the mountain where Mount Rushmore is, and it's this big square opening in the back of the wall. And allegedly, it was built because that was where the people who were building Mount Rushmore would like stay, and it was like cover for them to like be in, like during like weather and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Allegedly.
yeah. It
Allegedly.
says the vault was designed by the monument sculptor Gutzon Borglum, who envisioned it as a
Shouts
room
out.
dedicated to the quote unquote history of the United States.
So
Yeah. Um.
sorry.
So I don't want to hush your gig if you got more of these coming up in the next round here. But like, do I think there is some weird shit that goes on with the government? Of course. I think everyone has the right to be a little bit skeptical. Do I think they have a secret layer behind Mount Rushmore? Probably not. They're probably a little bit more sophisticated than that, I would think. But I think the government does have some weird shit going on.
I mean, without actually being there, it's like I mean, like TC said, but I mean, maybe that's what they're thinking. Maybe they're like, oh, there's they think we're smarter than this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's cliche to say, but like the best hiding spot's hiding in plain sight. Like
Mm-hmm.
I- so. I mean, it's just yeah, it's just like it brings out this side of you that like is like a little kid like wanting to know the reasoning behind something. That's what's like
Yeah.
so interesting about these topics, man. It just like makes you wonder and think and like open your mind. All right, next is the moon landing, real or fake?
Yeah, I think it's real.
I think it's real as well.
Um, no, okay,
But
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 this is a great
asterisk.
one to talk about. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is a great one to
this is a
talk
good one.
about. Okay, so I will say this: like for those of you that think it's fake, I do agree. Like America would have had a great reason to want to fake the moon landing. Like, you know, the Cold War and the space race with Russia and all this going on. Like America had a great reason to want to be to the moon first to show their supremacy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, did they have a great reason so they went out and did it? I think so. But the counter argument to that is like, we knew we couldn't get there, and so we said, hey, let's make it happen, even though we can't make it happen, and let's just make it look like we did it. You know what I mean? So it's a great one. That's an interesting one, but I think it's real for this fact. Like, no one said anything. You have all these people involved in this massive scam, and like, no one got too drunk at a barbecue and let something slip. Like, word just never got out. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like, that's a lot of sealed lips.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has to be real. I mean, there's nobody could have kept that. Like, cause I mean, you think of like the whole like production. Like, let's say it was fake. Let's say it was filmed in a Hollywood basement. Let's say like all that stuff is true. You have how many people working on it? And like you said, TC, not one person
Yeah, and like not even
said
just the people,
anything.
not even just the people involved in the production, but like all the people working at NASA, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we did it." Like when they really
Yeah.
didn't.
Uh huh.
You
Yeah,
know what
like
I mean? Like they wouldn't
what
have
about
been like, "No, fuck
Yeah.
these fools. We didn't do it yet."
Yeah.
what about with the giant hunk of metal that they launched into the atmosphere? Like, what is that about? You know, like it's just weird, man. Like, why would they build a rocket? And like, obviously, you have to build a rocket if you want to fake going to space. But like, at the same time, like, where did the rocket go? Was there people on it? Like, how did it come back and the people got off the rocket?
Yeah.
Just so many questions, man.
Yeah. Moon landing, 100% real. 100% real.
Yeah,
We had every
I think
reason to
it's real
fake
as
it, but
well.
I think it is real.
Last one, JFK assassination.
Oh gosh.
So I mean, not really real or fake, but real or um, foul play.
So this one's kind of strange. I am not the most educated on this particular subject, right? You have like the grassy knoll in the library, and people saying that it couldn't have come from.
So I'll just give you a quick little summary. So basically, the theory is that they're claiming that one Lee Harvey Oswald from the library or wherever it was shot one time, killed Kennedy and the dude in the front seat with
Collateral.
one bullet, and then they find the bullet laying on dude's gurney. It's not John F. Kennedy, obviously, because he was sitting in the back of the car. Dude was in the
His
front seat.
driver.
The driver was laying like on his gurney, and they found a bullet that like looked like it just came out of the package, laying on his gurney. And they just that's a story that they came out of his body, so there was only one shot fired. So obviously, the
Yeah,
counter argument is that there's two shooters. Is the thing.
well, and then didn't Lee Harvey Oswald get assassinated before trial? Or am I
Yes,
mistaken on that?
he did.
Yeah.
So that's getting a little fishy for sure. Um, so is it basically the debate of one or two shooters, or is it like an inside job type debate?
Yeah.
So
So they're
I
saying that.
heard that it was a
Gotcha.
group of people that had organized this, and Oswald would take the fall for it
Correct.
in the end.
So they're like paid off by the CIA, basically.
Yeah. That's the conspiracy. And mind you, everyone listening, these are all conspiracies. We're just discussing. We're just provoking some thought here, not whether or not we think this is true or all that stuff. Like we're just talking here.
Yeah, so if that's true, Chach, and they found a bullet that looked like it came out of the package sitting on the dashboard or on the gurney, that's kind of strange. We're talking about two shooters here. Why? Yeah, it's very strange. And I think this one is more on the plausible side of like maybe it was a group effort and Lee Harvey Oswald was just the fall guy. I'm thinking plausible for sure.
Right.
Um,
And
Here it is. I'll do. It's a little corny, but
eh,
I see.
that's like from the National Archives. That's the actual bullet that was found. Like there's a maybe centimeter laceration on the top, but besides that, it's pristine.
mm, yeah, and I mean, there's all sorts of speculation about like where the shot or shots actually came from and their trajectory and like the ballistics like behind the bullets and all sorts of crazy stuff. I mean, I think with like the JFK assassination, you have to think like, I mean, we talked about like the moon landing and like, possibly thousands of people having to be in on that. For something like this to be true, I mean, you need two people minimum. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, stuff like this is way more plausible. I mean, especially when you look like at the government and stuff and possible, kind of some sketchy things that happen along the way in history. I mean, these are all people. So I mean, I think it's entirely possible that that's not the real story.
And like, yeah, like the more you think about it, like who were the only people that would know how he was sitting and where the route would go and how they'd be driving and like all that kind of stuff, like it all just makes you wonder, honestly. Like, yeah, just crazy stuff, man. Yeah, and then they find this perfect bullet that went through John F. Kennedy's neck and then into the other guy,
Uh huh.
which how you shoot through someone's neck and not hit a single piece of bone. Because I mean, bullets just disintegrate when you hit bone. It's a proven fact.
Right.
They get mangled to
Yeah.
shit. I mean, it's soft metal. That's just how it is. So it's crazy, man. It's on. This is probably one of the more interesting ones to talk about. But yeah, so that's all I got, boys. Those are the rapid fire boys.
All right, boys, I got one more and it's kind of a banger. Um, aliens, plausible.
Uh, I've got an alien story as well, but yeah, I think aliens are plausible.
I mean, I think as a bunch of humans floating on a giant rock in the sky, it's kind of crazy to think that in space, which who knows how big space actually is. I mean, to think that we're the only things living out here. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That is exactly my point. Is like it's almost kind of selfish to think that we're the only ones out there. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I think like to me personally, I think that there's definitely other things out there. Um, not to get too far into things, but I think there are things keeping us from ever experiencing what else could possibly be out there. Um, I don't think we'll ever find it, or maybe we will. I don't know. But we there's a reason why we haven't found it yet, for sure. But I mean, there's no way. There's no way we're the only things out here. 0% chance.
Yeah, I kind of want to put this kind of trippy thought into your head, right?
Hit
Because
me.
like we always think of like aliens as like the people in the UFOs and they're coming and they need Earth for natural resources and all that stuff. They're gonna take us over, but like think about it like this: like, what if we're the aliens?
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like, so we have radios and they send out sound waves that go through space until they're interrupted, right? So like theoretically, we have wavelengths going through space right now. Like,
hmm
who knows what's going to be at the other end of that, right?
Right.
We, whether you believe in global warming or not, that's a completely different topic.
Yeah.
But the science shows that our Earth will die at some point. Our sun is a star, and stars explode at some point. Like Earth will end at some point. At some point, we will try to find a new home. We've already made it to Mars. We have rovers on Mars. Like, who's to say that we're not the people that are going to
Mm.
be one day in the air looking for a new home, and we have this superior technology to you guys, and we're here because we have no other option, and it's either you guys or us, and we like breathing.
I like breathing from time to time. I mean, that's
Dang.
that's like the craziest part of it is to think that like maybe we are the advanced ones. And I mean, as dumb as our society is sometimes, man, maybe we are. You know what I mean? I mean, just think if like something else did come to this planet and they saw what we are, if they saw Liver King, you're telling me you're gonna look Liver King in the face and be like, that seems normal. You're telling me you're gonna see Shaq, and you're like, yeah, yeah, it's perfectly plausible. You know what I mean? Like maybe we are the weird ones.
Also, like the whole alien facade is like these little aircrafts that are whizzed around and like
What's so
they can
corny?
go from yeah, literally like and they go from 5 feet above sea level to 80,000 in the blink of an eye, and they can make right angle turns, and they have no visible means of propulsion and all this stuff, and like the way we look at aliens is how like the ways that aliens would look at us is the way we look at like Native American tribes back in the day. If you think about it, it's the same concept. So like yeah, for Ty saying that we're the aliens, like looking for a new home and all this stuff, and like now we got people going to space and freaking Elon Musk and everyone is going to space like for all this stuff. And like it's just so weird, man. Like there's just so many things about this world that we don't know, and like we've occupied it for so long. Like TC was saying, like 10,000 BC, and like we still don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, like how far technology has come just in the last 60 years. You talk about the moon landing and whether that's real or fake. And then in the last 60 years, you have all the Apollo missions. You have, rovers on Mars. Um, you have the, what is it, the Hubble spacecraft out in space taking pictures all the time.
Oh
Like
yeah,
we're just on an exponential curve technology right now. Like you think about, we're on this steady climb, the 1920s, and we have trains, and then all of a sudden we start making tanks, and then like we find out about combustible engines, and we can have the Model T, and like now all of a sudden we're in space, like less than 100 years later.
Yeah.
Like we're just on this crazy curve right now, and it's like who knows when we can figure out the whole black hole thing. And like at some point, like I said, there will come a time when we're gonna have to look for a new home, and maybe we are the aliens, boys.
Man, you need to
well, I've
write a
got a couple
book.
alien stories as well. So
What about Area 51 to kind of cap off the alien talk, real or fake?
I mean,
Well, I think Area 51 is a real place, but is
yeah,
is it real in the
yeah.
sense of like there's weird shit that they keep in there as far as aliens or whatever else you think might be in there?
I mean, I think this kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the Mount Rushmore thing. Like TC was saying, like they don't have to be that cute with it. Like it's literally as simple as Area 51, just making
Yeah.
a military base that only military people are allowed on. Military and all that stuff. So, like, I mean, could it be very possibly that they've found shit? I have a couple stories here about, finding alien aircraft and stuff. So, is it very plausible that this stuff could be there? Absolutely. I don't think it's that far fetched. So,
Yeah, I don't think it's that far fetched at all either. I mean, especially, if the government is hiding things, which 100% there are things that they found that are hidden from us. You know what I mean? I mean, they're going to be in places like that. I you guys were there when we were on that riding trip out in the desert, and we went by that old we used to be like a prison or like something like that on the middle of the desert, and we're riding out of there, and like no joke, like these like two black SUVs like pull up behind us and like follow us all the way out to the main road. You know what I mean? It's like an abandoned place out in the middle of the desert, and there's no joke. Like we've kind of seen it firsthand a little bit. Like there's stuff out there. You know what I mean? So definitely possible. TC Area 51. That's a good one.
yeah, so I got two quick little stories on the aliens, boys. So, one is actually in our backyard. Um, so, in 1957, at Edwards Air Force Base, um, a UAP, an unidentifiable aerial phenomenon, landed on the dry lake bed. So basically, the allegedly, so these Air Force soldiers were conducting like kind of like something you'd see for like water classes TC, where it'd be like a training video where they're like walking you through stuff on the airplane and stuff like that. And so they're doing this like filming skit, and supposedly this thing lands on the ground by them and like affects the ground or something. Like it causes like dust or something like that, and you could see where the feet landed on the ground. And so the dude with the camera like turns and takes pictures of all this stuff. And so they're like, whatever. They go back and they like tell their supervisor all this information, and then like they go get the film processed, and then they pick it up the next day. And the next day they come in and there's like a courier jet like coming in from DC to come and like pick up the footage. And like supposedly they say that this dude on the jet, no one knows who it was or anything like that, but he like pops open the little film vial and like looks at the little developing pictures of it, and like looks at it, and everyone could see what it was on the little screen. And then he takes it, and basically like no one ever has heard or seen any of this stuff ever again. So then also, that was just kind of interesting because it was at Edwards Air Force Base right there. But so this next one, you guys have probably heard of it before, but it is the Roswell incident. So this is in Roswell, New Mexico. So basically, this another flying saucer, whatever you want to call it, supposedly crashed, and debris landed on this little farm in Roswell, New Mexico. And so the farmers basically like sell it to the government, and so there's like these four dudes on a B-29 bomber that are assigned with taking this stuff back across the country. And so they have this stuff they're flying. It's supposed to be from Roswell, New Mexico to somewhere in Ohio or something like that. And they're like halfway through the trip, and then they get this call that they need to stop in like Fort Worth, Texas or somewhere like that. So they stop like they do, and the pilots don't tell anyone any of this information, but like they supposedly, whoever it was at this place in Fort Worth, Texas, swapped out all of the stuff they had with like pieces of a weather balloon from some project. I have the name of it right here. One second. The wreckage belonged to a weather balloon. It was finally revealed that the balloon was supposedly part of a top secret project Mogul, which sought to detect Soviet nuclear bomb sites. And so basically they swap the stuff, and then they arrive in Ohio, which is their original destination, and they have like the weather balloon. And then so, the media's there. Everyone's obviously waiting to see the UFO wreckage. And it's just all these like weather balloon pieces, like pieces of tinfoil and like weird little stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, right before the pilots die, I think this 1994 was when that report was from. So like the pilots are all about to die, and the pilots' last words was that they told the second half of that story where they had to stop in Fort Worth and they swapped out the stuff. And so everyone says it's debunked, but the pilots told the tale, man. So I don't know. I just found it was really interesting.
Yeah, so like a lot of like UFO sightings, right? Again, have some sort of like explanation to them, right? Whether it's like flashing lights bouncing off of the clouds in a certain way, and
Oh,
with
the Battle of Los
the
Angeles.
and like the weather patterns in this area mixed with this certain thing made it look like there was something flying through the sky. So like a lot of them I don't believe are like true UFO sightings, right? Like somehow scientifically, or like some sort of phenomenon, a shooting star, like there's something going through the sky, shooting star, and with the combination of this event happening and this event happening at the same time, that's why it looked like the way it did, and that's why you caught that on camera, right? But like some of it is just like too strange to believe that there's not something else going on. Kind of like we were talking about with the pyramids, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just your mind can't wrap around how everything can be happening, with some of these wreckages, or like that
Right.
story that Josh just said, like that. Why would they need to go and swap it out if it wasn't a known fact that something weird was going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, stuff like that, man, especially when it's like it's the pilot, like it's not just like someone close. It's like the guy that was flying the plane that made the stop. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. It's just hard to like get your thoughts straight about it because, like we were just talking about, like how we don't believe there's like traditional aliens in the sense in these little green Martian dudes that come down that fly in these little flying saucers and but then like you hear about stuff like this, it's like, well, shoot, like what if you know what I mean? Like, what if there's actually something like that, or what if it was some sort of aircraft from another country, or like who knows, man? But it's just like kind of eerie when dude's last words are the second half to the story that was never told.
Yeah, and like we talked about it, touched on it at the beginning. Like mostly stories come from some dude with a tinfoil hat and a lava lamp in the corner of his house who's just like taking every jug under the sun, telling these stories about Bigfoot. But like when these are trained military pilots telling these stories, like who are sharp
Mm-hmm.
dudes who are smart, like they fly fighter jets, and like they're having these things happen to them, which is
Yeah.
really what almost validates it in a way.
Do you guys remember the name of that show where they would go and like try to
Fact or fake?
recreate Fact or Faked? Okay. Great show. Anyone listening to this right now, go try to find, I don't know where you can find it. Maybe it's on YouTube, but they would take like these famous, like either like photographs or videos or whatever from like these, UFOs, or like cryptozoology stuff or whatever, and they'd try to like recreate it. And then they'd kind of, experts would kind of weigh in on if, they thought it was like, if it actually could be real or if it was faked. And that's a really, really good show. And some of the stuff we've talked about tonight was on that show. And, they kind of proved some of the stuff wrong, or, they weren't really sure and couldn't give a definite answer or a yes or a no. So if you can find that show, definitely go back and watch it. It's interesting for sure.
Yeah, boys, that's all I got on Alien. So I don't know if anyone else has anything else for us.
Yeah, I got kind of a side note, and this is kind of a question for Schmog. I don't want to get too deep into it here, but like, would aliens go against the teachings of the church? Like,
um,
if Adam and Eve basically started mankind, would aliens go against the teaching of the church, or can both exist?
right. So, I mean, I am very, very young into this whole thing, and I'm sure there's people that could tell you much differently. But I do know, according to the Bible, this isn't the first Earth, this isn't the first civilization, and this won't be the last one. So that's what I was kind of talking about earlier, where I think that, if there is another civilization out there, which 100% there's got to be, right? Like, we're not going to find it. We're not going to see it. We're not going to get close to it, kind of thing. Um, Basically, in a nutshell. I don't know, like in the traditional sense of aliens, we keep saying traditional. I'm talking about little Martians or little bulb headed little beings that are going to come down to Earth. I mean, I would say that's a little far fetched, but I mean, as far as like other people living somewhere else, like 100, I mean, it's 100% possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it wouldn't be a conflict necessarily to believe in aliens and the teachings of the church, right?
I mean, not that I necessarily know of. I could be very, very wrong, but I mean, not that I think of. But
Okay. Side note, that's all I had for you.
no,
Side note there for you.
it's fine.
Dude, I've been seeing all this stuff about the freaking Aztec temples
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah. We can talk about this for a second too,
Like
since
they're
we're at
just
it.
finding these civilizations that basically have always been there, but basically before like the people left their civilizations there, they planted these flowers that would like basically turn into forest. And so these things have always been there in the jungle, but they're just engulfed in these like plants that they planted there. Like they basically turned their place into a chia pet.
Yeah,
IRL. And
yeah,
like so now that we're just like uncovering all these like intricate like Aztec temples, and like I mean usually they're in South America or stuff like that. So but just so much crazy stuff in this world that we haven't even found that Native Americans left probably no less than 2, 3, 400 years ago. And like we're talking about 10,000 years ago for the pyramids. Like
yeah.
it's just crazy.
The timeline like isn't as long as you like it as you picture it in your brain. You think of it like as it being so far long ago. But I mean, you talk about like, especially like South America. I mean, that's like relatively like fresh and in the grand scheme of things, you know what I mean? Um, yeah, and like South America too, like the Mayans and Aztecs. I mean, like there's all sorts of crazy stuff that's come out about that. It's like these two civilizations that are literally at the height of their like being, and then all of a sudden they're just gone. Like, see ya, just gone. And like, of course, like you have like descendants of those, of those, Indians that used to live there, but just gone. They just up and left. They're just gone forever. I mean, so that's kind of crazy. And apparently, like, and there's all sorts of stuff about the Mayans and their, you know, um, like mathematics and dates and calendars and like astrology and all sorts of stuff. I mean, incredibly smart, in that sense. But and then just gone forever. It's kind
Yeah,
of crazy.
you guys remember the year 2012
Oh,
and
dude,
the Mayan calendar ended in 2012 and like dude like I had to have been like middle school ish age.
I'm just
And
holding my breath, dude.
I was legit concerned on
Yeah.
like the day it was gonna end. I was like I think I told Schmack going to bed. I was like I let him know like I was a little bit
I...
nervous about it. I was like, hey dog, it's been real. Been a pleasure riding with you.
yeah. No, I mean, okay. Here's the thing. Okay, everyone said the world was going to end in 2000, Y2K. Instead of the world ending, we got Chotch. So kind of the same thing, kind of different. But then like 2012 was like the next thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, I mean, shoot, man. I mean, everyone was a little nervous. I mean, it was Oliver Vine. I know that. You know what I mean? So
While we're on the topic of these calendar things, like, so the doomsday calendar, right? Like, we've been stuck on 100 seconds till doomsday for like a really long time, like a couple hundred years. And just like in these last couple weeks, we recently ticked to 90 seconds from doomsday. So I don't know how it's measured or anything like that, but I know that it shifted forward or closer. So, sheesh.
we're getting closer. Very nice.
Boys. Okay, I have one last one to quickly chat about. So the sirens. If you guys remember that
The Odyssey.
book, yeah, the Odyssey. So
Banger.
basically, they're like these mythical mermaid things, and basically they make you go insane. And so that's how you would have like all these ships that crash and like everyone on the boat dies. What are you thinking, boys? These mermaid siren beings, real, fake, possibly real?
I'm gonna say fake.
Yeah, like you're gonna say fake right off top, but again, like
The ocean's a crazy place.
something weird living in the water, especially like way back in the day. Like, it, was there something weird? Probably, but was it a half human, half fish mermaid? I don't think so.
Hmm.
But
No.
like, was there possibly something weird? Yes. Do I think it made you go insane and crash your ship? I don't think so.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's honestly just insane to even try to wrap your head around most of these things, like, because there's like no gauge of like anything. Like you have nothing, like
Yeah.
for some of the stuff, like whether it's like Bigfoot or something, like we've all been in the woods alone or semi alone, when it's dark, so you're like, holy shit, like this thing could really be out there.
Yeah.
But like some of these things are just like no realm of possibility. Like I've never seen a mythical creature that can travel through dimensions before, so I'm not really scared of one either. So
Yeah.
it's just weird, man.
And that's the other thing is like, we've all been like alone in the woods at one point. And like, I've been alone in the woods in the dark before. And
Yeah.
like, your mind starts
Oh.
going nuts.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's your survival instinct, right?
Yeah.
Because you have that like heightened sense of things, right? And like your body's making you scared so that you look around quicker and that you're all, you know what I mean? Like you try to stay calm and breathe normal and everything, but your body's natural reaction is to like pump adrenaline and be like, hey, dude, we're not safe here. Dude, we're not safe here. Like figure it out, do something else.
Yeah.
And so I think your mind starts playing tricks on you. And I think that's where like some of these things come from as far as like the sirens or the Bigfoots or like the
Mhm.
anomalies in nature. Like I think some of that plays into it a little bit as well. Like you're hearing weird noises off in the woods and you're scared and you don't know what it is, and so the only thing you can say is it's Bigfoot. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
man. There's probably a more logical answer to it.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever like it kind of goes into like your brain like kind of seeing what it wants to see or like just seeing kind of weird things of it. And if you guys like ever like woken up in the middle of the night and like you caught a glimpse of like a piece of clothing or like your closet and I swear to you dude, it's moved. It's moved. There was an arm, it moved and then like it stopped moving again until you like fully wake up. Like the same thing happens. Like you're out like, you know, when we go out like hunting and it's like the sun's not quite up yet, dude, you hear everything, you see like stuff out of the corner of your eye. And I mean, who knows? It could be a bird or it could be something, but you swear it was Bigfoot. I swear. You know what I mean? Like the brain's a crazy thing, man. Which I think kind of goes hand in hand with like a lot of the stuff we've kind of talked about up until this point.
and like the most interesting part about all of it is like when you're like like sitting in the woods, for example, you know, and you hear the thing off in the distance. Like there becomes a point where like you aren't even doing the things anymore. Like you're like just how crazy is it that literally your body just takes over and does it for you. Like you're not consciously making the decision to look around or like not even make a noise so you can hear everything else that's going on around you. Like those aren't conscious decisions you're making. That's just your body like going into survival mode and like basically just being like, we got to get this thing before it gets us, kind of thing, which is so crazy, dude, that we're just like
Yeah.
these marsupials, basically. Oh my gosh, I don't know if my brain can handle anymore.
Yeah. Man, we're
Boys,
going forever with all this kind of stuff.
yeah, we could talk for 19 years on this. So anything else, boys? Anything we're dying to get out? I mean, there's been a bunch of UFO stuff going on recently in the world,
Yeah.
but
Um, that's pretty much all I had. Yeah, man. I think the alien talk is just. I think we've covered it, man. I think we really have.
Yeah. And I mean, if anyone like listening is like, you know, if you feel like super strongly or like you have more information or like you have stuff that like we miss, like shoot us a DM or, you know, like reach out and let us know. And I mean, we'd love to have, you know, someone on that, you know, is maybe a
get
little
some
more
counterpoints or
well
something.
versed or yeah, I mean, who is just open like to talk about. I mean, this is like a new kind of venture we're going into. So I mean, if it's something you're passionate about or something you're interested in, and you got some points that we missed or some counter arguments to some of the stuff, like let us know. I mean that's why we're here. That's why we record this podcast is you know to get opinions out there and you know get opinions in return. So let the boys know, and we'll see about getting some people on talk about this kind of stuff.
I got one more thing to close out the little our little conspiracy theory episode. So if you could pick any one of the cryptids to like, you could see one and like know for a fact that it was real, what would you pick?
Oh.
Dude, I saw the funniest meme the other day, and it was like dude, imagine if your dog just stood up on its hind legs, and all he said was, "No one will ever believe you," and then just went back to being a normal dog.
Dude,
Oh,
no,
I
dude. I
was like, sure, that kind of reminded me of what you're just saying, Josh. To see a cryptid, like, if you
yeah.
did see one, like, you're gonna be that crazy guy. So I don't know if I'd ever want to see one, to be honest with you.
no one's ever
Ooh,
gonna believe you, dude. I got chills. Like that is horrible. That's
literally.
so horrible. Oh,
Straight up, brutal.
you gotta live with that.
Yeah, what the hell, dude?
Your dog.
But it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the cryptids. Like, if you legit saw a Bigfoot, you're now the Bigfoot guy.
It's true. Like, uh, ooh.
Okay, I thought of a better hypothetical. We're in the woods hunting, right? And you see a Bigfoot. Are you gonna put the thing down,
Oh
or
yeah,
do you try to take a picture of it?
I'm shooting that thing. 1,000%. I am shooting that thing. It's not a protected species. Screw it. Send it.
But
I feel
then you're
like,
the guy that killed the Bigfoot. That's the only
yeah,
Bigfoot ever to live,
yeah. Picture
ever.
might be the better option here, Schmog. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I'm taking it down. But then what if it's like a guy in a
Picture.
suit though?
No, smack
You
it.
got big trouble.
Dude, then I got murder one on my case. Like,
What if it's a homicide?
yeah, like I can't be doing that.
Oh gosh.
I still might shoot it. Like that's your own fault. Okay, is it for sure Bigfoot? Like, is it for sure a
Yeah,
real
like
Bigfoot?
without a shadow of a doubt, it's real Bigfoot.
You gotta go picture. Picture
You gotta
slash
go
Nah,
video.
picture.
shooting it.
Yeah, I'm taking a video on front mode and then I'm flipping it around and doing like something to make it, like 101.
You're gonna get its attention.
No, I'm gonna
If
turn around and flip it on myself so it can't be faked. I'm gonna like do one of those, like get a real intricate video of it.
you get a
Oh man,
nice like.
you gonna get a selfie with Bigfoot.
Honestly, hey, me with the gang.
Hey, what's up, fam?
That's fam. I don't know, man, but they're just gonna
Do you
call
want
you
to be the
crazy.
guy? Yeah, do you want to be the crazy guy or do you want to be the guy that killed Bigfoot, the only Bigfoot to ever live, ever be seen by anyone?
No, like shooting Bigfoot is more hard evidence for sure.
Also,
You got the
what if
body,
it's
like
what if you don't kill it? You just
yeah,
piss
that's
it
true.
off.
Okay,
I mean,
there's that side of the argument.
I'm
But let's say
killing
you
it.
did kill it, you would definitely have more hard evidence to like bring back to society and be like, I got myself a Bigfoot, boys. You know what I mean? Definitely got to try to find a way to get some money off of that. But
Oh yeah,
anyways, like the picture is still like kind of debatable. You know what I mean? But then at least Bigfoot's still alive out there somewhere, and maybe you go back at some point and try to. I don't know. I don't know.
I think I'm shooting
Yeah.
it. I think I'm shooting it. Like I can't. I just can't get around it. Like you shoot it, and then you sell that to the government for gobs of money. You know what I mean?
No, you don't
Like
sell it to the government. You sell it to the media outlets. That's
okay,
who's going to give you the money.
I sell to whoever I want to. I killed Bigfoot. And then guess what? And then everyone launches a full blown investigation on trying to find anything else. Because if you killed one, I mean, there's going to be more, right?
And then you're going to get PETA on your trail so fast
So
for killing the only
fast.
Bigfoot.
You think PETA wants to do with
Lawsuits out the
Bigfoot?
wazoo.
There's going to be protests. They're going to be at your house.
That's just the price I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to make.
All right, boys. Anything else?
Dude, the
We're dying to
merch
get
that
off the
could
chest.
come from killing Bigfoot, you kidding me? I'm going to make a gob of money. Professional Bigfoot killer. Me. My face.
Me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Harambe would have nothing on you.
He doesn't. Harambe. We're no way we're
Uh,
bringing that up.
no, Chach, I think that's all I had, buddy.
Yeah, Chach, I'm all good there, dude.
You're just full of good ideas today, aren't you? All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for episode 18 of the Keep It Down podcast, Conspiracy Theory Edition. So, let us know. Let us know if you like this kind of stuff. If you want to see more, if you have some counterpoints, you want to come on and debate the boys, tell us we're dumb idiots for any of our stories or anything like that, you're more
I
than
would love
welcome
that.
to. Yeah, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Keep It Down Pod. Run it up on YouTube. Give us some subs. Go sub to the channel. Give us some love. Give us some likes. All that good stuff. And then, yeah, boys.
Yeah, guys, thanks for listening, man. It's been awesome. We had fun switching it up today, man. Let us know what else we should talk about on the pod, man. We're always up to suggestions.
Yeah, suggestion box is always open, guys. And if you also would shoot Bigfoot, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And we'll see you guys next time.
And make sure you're good people out there also.
Chach, did you stop the recording? Mine's still green. Chach, I think it's still recording, dude. Oh, my clock is still very much going. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. Don't know. Don't know. Hopefully this is all still being recorded. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to my podcast. So this is recording, boys. This is what we do after the podcast. You're witnessing. You're welcome. Da, 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 da. Oh, yeah. Jeez, man. Okay. Guys, I'm going to hop off and try to get this edited real quick, but we'll be talking soon, boys.